Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Banana Podcast with Foxhard and Renilius. Hope everybody's been doing well. How's it going, mister?
It is going. I'm actually quitting smoking, so I'm like cutting back and driving me insane playing Apex.
Oh, so you tell me you've taken like two rage-inducing things and smushed them together and just having a good time every day.
Yeah, I rage quit my stream today. I'm like, I've had enough of this.
He said enough of this. He's like, God damn it, a fucking cigarette would help, but it's not going to. So here we are. He's like, I swear, if it isn't for Gibraltar and Marlboro, I wouldn't be alive right now. Good stuff, man. I have been jobless for 2 weeks, and I have been streaming full time, so I can't really say that things have been all that bad. To be completely honest with you, been playing some games and just having a good time. You know, just living the dream, as they say, the most generic thing to say, living the dream. So that's what I've been up to.
You've been loving the streaming.
Love the streaming. It's great. It's going really good, and I know you've been doing your thing too. So
Yeah.
it's always fun. And in the times since we've talked last, there's been some pretty pretty good gaming news, some pretty good stuff, some pretty interesting stuff, and some stuff that is a little bit questionable. and speaking of the questionable side, and something that I have thought is completely weird from the start has been Amazon deciding to try to get into video games. And it came out this week, I think maybe like a day or two ago, that apparently, I think it was news to both of us, Amazon has been working on a Lord of the Rings MMO.
Yes, I had no idea.
And of all things to cancel, they canceled a Lord of the Rings MMO. Like it just seems like such a valuable IP. Like everyone loves Middle Earth, and I was surprised that they canceled it. But I think you had a little bit more information on what happened, right?
Yes. So it's actually more of like a company dispute thing involved with Tencent Games and Amazon. Amazon was working with a smaller company to make this game, and then Tencent acquired that company. So then it became like a little battle between Tencent and Amazon, and I guess it didn't go well. So because they canceled the game.
Isn't Tencent in bed with Epic?
Tencent's in bed with everybody, from what I can tell.
Okay, fair.
Like a lot of different companies, but yeah, definitely. If I recall, Epic as well. So yeah,
That's a real shame because
yeah, it's a bad like you'd think like during like the buyout or something that they would just give like Amazon like all the progress like for this co-developed game, or like work out a deal that Amazon could buy all the progress and get someone else to develop it or something.
Yeah, that's what you would think. I don't know if Amazon, I think they're used to bullying everybody in every industry. In every industry I think Amazon goes into, they have the weight and power to kind of just bully anyone into doing what Amazon wants. And I'm going to guess that probably what happened is Amazon was the money in this MMO, and then Tencent buys the company. And unfortunately, Tencent is a worldwide player that's probably as on the same scale of Amazon as far as like business and money. And they just couldn't push each other around, and it just probably they just got nowhere with it.
Yeah. Well, like Amazon's probably not bringing a lot to the table as far as like, development goes. They're just like the money bags, and Tencent doesn't need that,
Yeah. Tencent has the money.
Also, like, Amazon, I guess, probably has the IP, but like, who knows what's going on? Because I know they're making a Lord of the Rings TV series, which I've been waiting for forever.
Yeah, that'll be really good. There's also a Lord of the Ring Gollum game coming out. Gollum's getting his own game, probably coming out in like I think it's maybe the next few months. I'll have to take a look and see.
Okay.
But yeah, Gollum is getting his own game that's coming out. It's coming out on PS5. Which, like, come on, dude, who doesn't want to be crawling around being precious? Yeah, it's coming out in 2022. There was a big trailer for it and everything recently where you were just Gollum. Like,
who's developing that?
Daedalic?
Okay.
Entertainment. I've never heard of them, but I mean, I think it's a PS5 exclusive. I want to say, no, it's not, because Sony had it in one of their things they did. Sony put it on there, and they're like, "We have Lord of the Rings Gollum coming." I'm like, "Ooh, Gollum! Like, give me the precious, you know." So I think that'll be an interesting turn because it's been a little while since we've had anything from Middle Earth.
Yeah, what was it like? Shadow of Mordor or War of Mordor or whatever was the last
Yeah,
thing.
Shadow of War was the last game
Shadow
we
of War.
got,
That's it.
and
Yeah,
I would say other than maybe what Star Wars, I think Lord of the Rings is probably like one of the biggest IPs out there as far as like movie universe that I can think of.
Harry Potter, baby.
Which they Harry Potter's coming next year as well. It's going to be
Yeah,
coming with a game. So I think like I don't know. It just seems like a total miss on Amazon's part to let this slide through the cracks.
yeah. I don't. Yeah, I think they were just in well, they probably should have bought the company that they were developing this game with before Tencent could buy them. That's the only thing I could see that they could have really done wrong because, like,
Yeah, like, I feel like it probably was no secret, right? Like with a business acquisition that large, I feel like that Amazon kind of had to know what was going on a little bit there.
yeah,
That there was like negotiations and things like that going on with a game that they were basically funneling the money for.
yeah.
But
Well,
this isn't Amazon's first time like screwing it up though, which is like what I found like very interesting. They've had like a few games that they've canceled already. Uh, a couple of like MMO type games and just like multiplayer, free to play type stuff they've canceled. But they also last year, I think it was Crucible. They released Crucible and it was so bad, it was so terrible that they unreleased it and brought it back into beta. And it's just been sitting in beta ever since.
yeah, I think it's canceled, but
Did they cancel it? Okay.
I'm pretty sure they did just give up on it. But
What's I mean, what's going on there? That like, do you think it's just like Amazon just doesn't know gaming?
I think they're just trying to swing too hard, too fast. They're not like, let's come up with a couple, you know, smaller games, like dip our toes in kind of a thing.
Like funding like an Angry Birds type project or
Yeah,
something.
and
Something
just
very
coming up
small
with
and
like, interesting games that are just like trying to make the one game to rule them all, and it's like
I see what
not a
you did
very
there.
good idea. Yeah.
I
I
see
mean,
exactly what you did
it's like
there.
they see Epic Games making all that Fortnite money, and they're like, okay, we want some of that, so let's just do one of those. But that's not how, like, that's not how you
Epic's
develop games.
Fortnite money was pure dumb luck.
Yeah,
Like they just like Epic with Fortnite, they just happened to get lucky off of literally ripping off PUBG.
yeah,
Let's be real here. They were making a base building game and they said,
yeah,
"Oh wow, we could make this into a battle royale real fucking quick." And they just printed money.
yeah.
But that's
And that
like
was
how
like
often does a new genre
Blue
like that
Hole
come out?
or whatever was like working with that. Like somehow they were working together, which made it real
Were they?
kind of sketchy. What happened there is like they
Yeah.
were working with, like on the engine or something, somehow working with PUBG, and then
Yeah.
they come up with that game, which kind of stole the idea, which
Mhm.
which is not like it's like a unique idea having a battle royale concept, but I mean it's really weird when you help like when you're working on that game and then you come up with a competitive. There was like a lawsuit and everything about it.
Well, the thing is, first of all, like, let's just go on a little tangent here. PUBG was great. I mean, PUBG, like, when it first came out, it was great. But, I mean, I think PUBG's what, 4 years, like 3 or 4 years old at this point, and you get onto a game of PUBG, and it plays exactly like it did in 2017. It still plays exactly the same. It's still janky. The movement's still bad. The inventory is, like, still, like, real sketchy. I mean, Blue Hole had all the money in the world. I mean, everybody bought PUBG, and it was like even early access. I think it was like $35. It wasn't like a free game, and they just squandered it. So I can't really feel bad that like that they let Epic make the battle royale for children. That is the most popular thing in the world.
Yeah,
I mean, Epic they really the one thing I'll give them is on the free to play world they made it a lot better. Like for years, free to play games were really bad before Fortnite. I mean, they were all pay to win.
yeah,
And Fortnite, say what you will about it, it's not pay to win. Like I think people have said like a couple of skins that look camouflaged or whatever in the
yeah,
past that they fixed, but like everybody can play the same game. So that's one thing I will give them is they kind of put the battle pass like idea into the industry, and I think it's for the better. A lot of I think it's for the better, and I think that it's just
I
it's
mean,
crazy that PUBG has squandered it.
yeah. What PUBG should have done is once they started to rake in all of that money, just like came out with a PUBG 2 with a whole new engine and everything. Used all that money, put it in development for a new, cleaner running, less buggy game, and that game would be on top right now.
They should have did it in Unreal. Is what they should have done. They should have just what they should have done would have been smart. Would partner with Epic, because if you partner with Epic, they'll give you Unreal. They'll give you Unreal Engine for free. Put it on the Epic Store. That could have been like right there on the Epic Store and went that way, and they could have killed it. And I don't think Call of Duty would even be a sight right now with the momentum that PUBG had.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
that game was a phenomenon.
Call of Duty does have its huge, like, it's had like a massive built-in audience for years and years and years. Though it is getting smaller every year, it seems like.
Warzone really, I think they said Warzone really saved Call of Duty though. That's like the thing that's very interesting to me is Warzone was struggling. Or Modern Warfare 2019 was struggling like a pretty good bit. Like it wasn't selling great.
Yeah.
Then they released Warzone, and I know for me myself, I bought Call of Duty Modern Warfare after playing Warzone because I got to where I wanted to play deathmatch and all the other fun game modes I've played in the previously. So I gave that a shot, and yeah, I really that really saved it. Which is always pretty interesting. It's kind of funny how that stuff goes,
have been going down for like since I don't know, maybe 2015 or even before that. Like they hit a plateau. I can't remember with which one. Maybe around Black Ops 1, but it wasn't Black Ops 1 specifically.
Mm-hmm. Well, Black Ops 2 are around there. Huge. Black Ops 2 was huge, and Modern Warfare 3.
I think it's big. Modern Warfare 3 was like their plateau, and then they have been slowly losing sales since then. Like just a little. But
I think the market has kind of moved elsewhere, and there's been no innovation really from them.
Mostly,
which is fine. I don't think it's a bad thing that it's like Call of Duty shooter is just Call of Duty is Call of Duty, and I'm fine with that. Yeah. What gets me and what really where my problem is a new game every year and it's expensive.
Yeah, that's too. Yeah, it's $60 and it's a slightly different game, and it's okay but year after year after year after year will get you eventually.
That's $30 Assassin's Creed. A $30 yearly expansion would be fine.
Yeah,
with Call of Duty. I mean, that's all it really needs.
Yeah, come up with a new game every 3 years or something like that. Just like come up with new content, support that game for 3 years, come up with a new one, and it'll be a lot different because you've had 3 years to make it different.
Mm-hmm. But instead, they have everybody on a rotating cycle of here. Let's rush you to make this game in 2 years, and it just I don't know. It just.
That's what almost killed Assassin's Creed was like every year a new game that's slightly different, and then like it really started to go downhill until they took time off and like kind of rebooted the whole thing with Origins.
Do you like? Oh, okay. I was thinking of Odyssey. Odyssey was the one I thought was like where they got really different with Assassin's Creed.
It was Origins. It was Origins first. Odyssey is just like a slightly better version of Origins. Well, arguably, like they added more ship stuff. Like Origins didn't really have a full like ship mode. It just had like these little story beats that you were like in the ship, and they made it way bigger. And like, I think Origins is a tighter package of like, it's easier to get through that game. Whereas like Odyssey, I still haven't gotten through because the map is just littered with shit, and it's just like, do I really want? Every time I boot it up, I'm like, do I really want to go through this right now?
That's where my big problem with Ubisoft is. I feel like a lot of their games, what they did was they went from more of a stealth game to, I feel like it's more of like an RPG adventure, which is fine. It's totally okay. They wanted to make it like The Witcher is the way I feel. Totally okay. But the problem I have is that like there's just so much ceaseless shit. Like you said, like you open the map and there's just 1.5 million points, and then they try to sell you XP boosters, which you know how I feel about that. I think they build some of those games to kind of push you to buy the XP booster to push through it.
Yeah, either that or it's just they do it just because when people look at that map, they're just like, "Fuck no." And they're like, well, you could pay some extra money to not have to deal with this.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what if, like, oops, sorry, I accidentally slipped and fell and dropped a XP booster on the ground. You might need that for $10. So, that's the big issue, but I'm sure it's fine. I mean, I learned yesterday, a lot of people love Ubisoft games. I'm in the minority, I think. So
I do. I like them as well. Like, it's just like they can be overwhelming. You have to be in the right mood to play them. It's like I really loved Origins, and I did like Odyssey. It's just like that game just got to a point where there's just too much shit to do, and I'm like, I'll come back to this, and then I just never came back to it. It's just
Yeah,
too
one of my
much.
favorite reviewers, that's what he said. You know, he's like, you get to a point where like the early game's really good, then there's like a ceaseless sea of horse shit to grind through, and then like the last 15 hours is also really amazing. But like, you know, I think Ubisoft is just like, we're offering you a 90-hour experience, and like 60 hours of it is just incessant grinding for nonsense to make it look like, you know, like a
Fetch
fake sense
quests
of
and
value,
collecting random shit that doesn't really do much.
and go and climbing points and scoping the map and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely worse games out there, and there's definitely worse companies. A big thing that's always held me back from Ubisoft games has been PC. I don't like Uplay. I feel like I feel like I'd rather deal with anything than Uplay.
Yeah.
And then they're never really optimized the best for PC. So I
No.
do have a plan to go back and play some of the games I missed on console now that I have one. That's part of my goal. But if Uplay comes to Game Pass like they're saying, who knows? if Uplay comes to Game Pass, then like, man, it's been
Yeah.
pretty hard to like justify not playing them on PC at that point.
Yeah.
Speaking of Game Pass, did you see that MLB The Show, a Sony funded game,
Yeah.
came to Game Pass?
So I think it's developed by Sony. Is it Sony San Diego?
I'm gonna look right now.
I think they make it, and they've been like that's been like a staple for PlayStation for years, and it's actually like one of the better sports games out there. Maybe
It's
it's like
so good.
it might be the best sports game because NBA 2K has kind of fallen. It was
Yeah.
up there for a while, but like I used to love the like I don't even like baseball that much, but that game was just so fun to play. I loved it.
I remember when I think what was the first MLB The Show? I want to look because I think it was like MLB The Show '06 on
It could
PS2.
be. It could be.
And I mean, it was so different than everything out there. I mean, it was so very good. And it's been like you said, it's been a Sony exclusive, a Sony a cornerstone of their
Yeah.
sports games. Like for I mean, you know, 2006 doesn't sound like a long time ago, but it's been a really long time. I mean, we're
Yeah.
closing in on 20 years
Yeah.
since 2006. You know, it's been 15 years. And I mean, to me, that's almost like Gran Turismo coming to Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
You know, really, it would be. But what's really even more crazy is that it came to Game Pass day one.
Yeah. Which
And
is
I
was surprised when Outriders did it, and I'm surprised that this has done it. It's like Xbox is really, really going for it with Game Pass.
yeah. I mean, how much do you think they just said, Sony, here's a bucket of money you can't resist?
No, it had nothing to do with Sony. As far as I can tell,
Mm-hmm.
it's like MLB themselves. This was announced or like this isn't just happened. They announced it like 1 or 2 years ago that this was going to be multi-platform because the MLB they said it has to be like it was the
Oh,
MLB.
really?
They like otherwise I guess they could have said like okay you can't have the license anymore for this game. It's like you have to make this multi-plat.
Is 2K baseball still a thing, or is it only the
No,
show? Is the show
it's
all that's left?
the show is the only real one. There's like RBI baseball, which is like kind of like a old school retro baseball game, but it's gotten better from what it was like 4 or 5 years ago. From what I could tell, they started adding more and more stuff to it to make it a little bit better. Because it was
Yeah.
really basic when I used to play it, but that's the
One of
only
the
thing I can
ones
play
that
on Xbox.
there's a game that's on my wish list I've been wanting to play called Super Mega Baseball that's on
Oh,
PC.
yeah, that's on the Xbox as well. I played that quite a bit, like the first one, and then there's the second one too. I haven't played the
There's a
second one
third
as
one.
much.
There's a third one that's out now that's
Okay,
even better. It's got a full franchise and like you know, player development and everything.
okay, yeah, those games are
But,
fun.
but,
They're definitely
but like I
fun, but
said, and they look kind of cartoony, but
it
they're
is.
super simmy.
Yeah. Well, from what I remember, is they were like completely like arcadey.
Yeah, no, they're like this one's it's super simmy, but the art style is a little arcadey, but yeah, it's very like simulation style baseball because there wasn't really I don't think there's an alternative baseball game on PC other than RBI, like you said.
Yeah, I don't even know if RBI is on PC, is it?
Yeah, it is. It came out for sale
Okay.
recently. It was on sale. I just want to know how I just it blows me away. Like, do you think this opens the door to more? Do you think Sony? And I know we talked about this. Do you think Sony would be open to putting more games on Game
No.
Pass Day One, or you think this was a necessary evil for them?
I think they didn't have their hands were tied. They had no choice. I think if they could have avoided it, they would 100% avoid doing it. Because it's not only like it'd be bad enough if that game came to Xbox, one of their like corners, like their biggest sports franchise, let's just say. But
Hmm.
it's not only is it going to be on Xbox, like you lost the exclusivity, but it's on Game Pass, so you it's better if you're on Xbox, really.
You think a sports game is a console seller?
No, well, it is. It's 100%, but not like any vast numbers. Like, because
Right.
there are people that only play sports games that don't play
Hmm.
any other types of video games. They play like their Maddens, they play their like MLB the shows, they play their 2Ks, they play their NHLs. They don't play anything else, and like they buy consoles just to play those sports games. There are people that do that. They don't play like any other type of game. But I don't
I
think
wish
that's a
I
big
wish we
number.
had a hardcore sports gamer that we knew we could have them on. I think that'd be really interesting. Just somebody that like I only play sports games. Like I just buy Madden every year and like NBA Live or 2K. I don't think NBA Live is a thing anymore, is it?
No, not really. Like it was gone, then it was back, then it was gone, then it was back. I don't think it's going right now.
Really? See, that's
Like I
the
played,
sport.
like they brought it back. It was actually okay. It's just it felt so different than 2K. If you didn't give it a chance, you'd think it was trash. But I
Yeah.
actually put in like I put in the time, and I'm like it's not. It just feels different. It's not as good, but it's not exactly garbage either. And they made it cheaper, so it was like, and it had its own little things that were different that were kind of cool. But like I think it was like 18 was the last one that I remember playing.
So I'm reading here that Sony's response to this very very political actually. It's important that we stay open to new ideas of how to introduce more people to PlayStation. Just like that's very corporate speak. I think that's actually not the worst thing I've ever read. I thought that was really funny though. That's their head of PlayStation Worldwide Development. I mean, MLB probably grabbed him by the balls and said
Yeah,
release the game, and they're like, okay, well, how can we like make this look for optics that we're trying to be open?
yeah,
Because Sony has not been very cross-platform
no,
until very recently. We started getting some Sony games on PC, which is exciting.
yeah. But
Also,
they're
just
also the Sony games you're getting on PC have all like the sales have pretty much dried up. Like it's not like oh it's like 6 months later. It's like years after those games are out.
yeah.
It's not
They're
like
like, oh, we're gonna give you Horizon Zero Dawn. I think Horizon Zero Dawn was last year, and it's like,
yeah,
ooh, Horizon Zero Dawn. But
yeah,
also, it's like, yeah, the shit's been out since PS4 launched,
yeah. Well,
but it sold really
not
well,
quite
and
that
it's
old. But
it's
like
not that
yeah,
old.
no, it's not that old, but it's still pretty old. And also, it's like Days Gone is the next one, and it's like that's a game that did not sell well and is old. So it's not
Yep.
like they're. It's not like they're coming out like there's gonna be Uncharted 5 on PS5, like, and then it's gonna come to PC 2 months later or 3 months later, even a
Yeah.
year later. It would either not come out at all or it would come out like 5 years later. So
Well, what's interesting to me, the whole reason I bought that thing is to play an entire generation of games I missed. And now I'm going and I bought Horizon and then I buy Days Gone and it's like, those are coming to PC now? Like,
yeah,
I really will be kind of upset if it all ends up coming to PC anyway, because there's no reason for me to have a console if I have a gaming PC
yeah,
for me. I rather, there is something to be said about sitting down on a couch and playing a game that's on a TV. There is. Sometimes it's nice to get away from the Discord and nice to get away from all the noise and everything. But,
yeah.
in all reality,
Plus,
it's,
with console gaming, there's just a simplicity. It's like like well, 99% of the time you buy a game, it's just gonna work. You just put it in, you start playing.
yep.
All like the stores in one place, all your friends are in the same place. There's no like fragmentation of like stores and different like chat apps. It's just like
Launcher.
everything is right there and everything just works. It's like every time I start up a game on PC, it's just like this oh, I have to update this and it's like, oh wait, my drivers aren't updated and it's just like you always run in, well, especially when I'm streaming, there's always something wrong. Like it can never just like I just can't just press play and start playing the game. There's always like, oh, I have to change this setting. Oh no, this is wrong. Oh wait,
Oh,
this is
Origins. I gotta log into
like it's
Origin now. Like, oh, I
yeah.
don't have an account for this. Like, I haven't bought Rockstar games recently because now there's a Rockstar store. It's like, what do I like? Why? When does it end? When
Yeah,
does it
it's
end?
ridiculous.
So, I mean, who knows? I think that gaming's in a weird spot right now with PC. Like, yeah, the game's on Steam, but you can't play it on Steam. So, what's the point of having it on Steam? Like, what's if it has to be launched to another client? What happens if 20 years from now, or not 20 years from now, but like 5 years from now, Rockstar decides to shut down their client.
Yeah.
There's no way to play their games.
Well, hopefully they'd patch it, but like, yeah, there's definitely. I'd say for like if all you care about is just like playing games, you don't want like all the bells and whistles. I think consoles are a way to go. It's just so much easier. Like
Well, yeah,
PC is like there's always something annoying. like
always something. But and like I love my old games on console, and something that's gotten real big recently has been digital games, which I think started in like the PS3 and Xbox generation. And I still play my PS3. I think I just recently did a first playthrough of Red Dead Redemption, the first one on my PS3.
It was a great
Well,
game.
very good, great experience. I loved it. Uh, but what's annoying is Sony was like, "Well, we're shutting down the store," and this is where it gets into something for me. Sony's like, "Hey, we're shutting down our store on Vita, PS3, and PSP. So if you want a game, you better go get it now."
Yeah.
Which I think made a lot of people, myself included, pretty upset because
Yeah.
what happens if your hard drive corrupts? And you need who knows how these systems are going to last long term, really, in all reality. So if I need to put a new hard drive in it and I want to re-download my digital game and I have no way to get to it.
Well, supposedly all the games that you had bought,
Mm-hmm.
you were going to be able to download again, but they didn't say for how long.
Okay.
They just said like after the store closes, like if it's in your library, you can still download it. But there was no like guarantee this was going to be forever kind of a thing, and it obviously wouldn't be. But the more interesting thing about this is like the PS3 store is like that's 2 generations old. That
Mm-hmm.
console, you can kind of understand why they wouldn't want to be running a store to sell games necessarily. But like for something like the Vita, it's like there's still people making games for that. There's still companies making games for Vita and releasing games because it is the newest handheld for Sony,
And
even
it's
though
in
it's
Japan.
old.
It's pretty big in Japan, from what I understand. It still sells like it still has a sales like presence over there.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
it's just like it. That's like the newest handheld, so it's kind of weird there. Whereas like the console may be like two like if they were up to like Vita 3, I could see them stop selling Vita 1 games, but like they kind of killed the Vita for their own stupidity. Don't even get me started about the Vita. Cuz I bought that shit day 1.
Oh, so
but
you've got a dog in this race too, like me with the PS3 and you with the Vita.
yeah.
There's games that are on the PS3 store that I own that have never been re-released. That's the
Yeah.
that's the big issue for me.
Well, yeah,
Um,
plenty of games would like die because of another thing with PlayStation is they like well the cell processor is also a problem. But
yeah,
like they don't care like they don't really care about backwards compatibility the same as the Xbox does. Like
yeah,
Xbox could close down their store on their 360, but then you would just be able to do it on your Xbox One or your Xbox Series.
yep.
Like because it's like all those games are at least a lot of them are just keep moving forward with the system. Whereas on
And on Game
PlayStation,
Pass. And on Game Pass.
anything on PS3 that didn't get like a remake is like dead, like stuck on that store.
Well, what was it? I know one of the ones I have is Legend of the Dragoon, which is a PS1 RPG
Okay,
that I got I have it on Virtual Console or whatever Sony
yeah,
calls there on my PS3.
PlayStation Classics is it
Yeah, and
or
it's
something?
never been re-released any other.
Yeah,
There's nowhere else I can play the game. The most recent hardware I can play that game on specifically is the PS3. And the other one was what's the one where you could be good or evil with the electric powers?
Infamous.
Infamous was also. You can't. It's never been re-released. The first Infamous.
Really? That's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
You'd
I
think
think
they
Infamous.
would.
Yeah.
That's
Well, it was a
insane.
good game.
Yeah.
You know when I got Infamous. I got Infamous. I wouldn't have bought the game. The only reason I got Infamous was because of the PlayStation Network hack. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when PS3 online, I remember this. I was so mad because I was playing Call of Duty at the time, and there was no
It,
way to get.
Call of Duty just came out, like I think 2 days before that.
Yep. Call of Duty had just come out. I was like, I had made the switch over from Xbox 360. I was like, we're gonna play the PS3. You know, I'm gonna be getting all the fucking buddies that have PS3s now and play Call of Duty, and the shit like died. I was like, no, what am I doing?
I feel like that killed SOCOM 4 and what's that? What was that other oh, I don't remember. There's that other place like Sony shooter game. Like oh, I can't
So
remember.
common.
Is it
What
Warhawk or something like
Mag?
that? No, it wasn't Mag. Meg was crazy, but I don't think that was. I think it was Warhawk or one of those games. Starhawk. I don't know, but like that really hurt those games because there are PlayStation Online games that released around that, and like that killed SOCOM because SOCOM was like Sony's shooter series before that, and like that outage like killed SOCOM 4 and pretty much killed SOCOM and like Zipper Interactive, like
Okay. So it was Infamous Blood Festival. So it was
okay
one of their
that was
sequels.
that was
That would be
that
left.
was a DLC for Infamous 1 or 2. I can't remember
Mhm.
which one.
So
It
that
was
would be left on PS3. A game called Datura, which I never heard of.
you say
Lingering Shadows, which I do remember hearing about.
okay.
Was it Legasista? Looks like it was a JRPG, and then a game called Rain. So like it was like nothing is like super notable, but also it's still a fact that these are Sony first party games that you'll never be able to get on anywhere else but PS3.
But not only that, it's like there's only so many like copies of like say the actual Infamous and Infamous 2 and some of those games they didn't re-release. You
Yep.
know.
They said there was so of all the games they would have got if they of all the games they were going to get rid of, we would have lost 138 games to history. Is what you think about.
Yeah.
And as you know, I think of gaming as a medium that's every bit as important as movies or literature. To me, that's just me. And I think that it's a shame that you would have had no other way to access these games once this would have went through.
Yeah.
So hopefully Sony kind of saw the reaction here,
Yeah.
and we'll see kind of when we get going forward if they decide to put a little bit of stock in the backwards compatibility.
Yeah. I know it's just tough with that cell processor, but you think that they have to figure something out to
Well, I
like
mean, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, they were able to redo like a lot of games didn't really use that cell processor very much, and the ones that did were ported over to PS4. But there's a few that like just games that just got overlooked that are just stuck there.
yeah.
Also, what was the other one? That probably would have gotten forgotten. Like, remember PlayStation Home? There's people that still play that, which is
Oh
weird.
really?
Yes, there's people that they keep getting on every night, so they can't shut down the servers because there's people on.
That's hilarious.
I mean, did you do PS Home at all?
Yeah, I was on there. I had like an apartment and like whatever, some outfits. I was cruising around in there a little bit when it first came out for a few days. That was about it.
It was. I remember there was so much hype behind it. They're like, "This is going to be like your next life. You're going to live. It's going to be amazing." And then it wasn't. It was just like, okay. It's like, okay. There's people here like doing emotes and stuff. Like, cool.
I mean, yeah, they could have made it a lot more interesting,
hmm
but I feel like people just don't want that. Like, you could have watched movies with your friends in there and played games like in a virtual. Like, it's kind of like what VR chat like, but
Yeah.
like that's what it would have been if they would have done it right. But I feel like most people on console they just want to sit down and play a game. They don't want to be like, I gotta walk to my friend's apartment to play like SOCOM with them. Like, no, they're just gonna
Play
start up the game.
SOCOM with 'em. Well, dude, like I don't know, man. I just worry about game preservation going forward. You know, with all the Nintendo stuff, even I mean, once Nintendo shuts down the Wii U store, there's a lot of games on the Wii U store that I like really need to buy before they shut it down. There's Ocarina of Time on there. You can't get on the Switch. Majora's Mask. I mean, there's a lot of classics that are only on the Wii U.
Yeah.
And Nintendo, like they don't care. People will get upset. Nintendo does not give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like at all. They do not care.
They're gonna re-release them for $60 each, and you'll pay it.
Like, and I will. I fucking will. And it's such like I don't. We talked about it last time. Like, when does Nintendo's goodwill run out?
Well, it's not infinite because look at the Wii U. Like like Nintendo almost bit it right there with the Wii U to prove
Yeah.
that they can't just do whatever they want. They have to. They got to keep hitting home runs every once in a while to keep people interested.
Wow, the price of used Wii U's has gone through the roof. I mean, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
But
I got rid of mine.
did you? I love mine. I think it's great.
Well, I loved it too, but it's like it's after they basically abandoned it. I'm like, well, I might as well abandon it too.
Oh, look at this. Did you hear about the PS4, the battery failure internal to them that's causing failures?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there's a little clock battery, little watch
Yeah,
battery inside the
CMOS,
PS4.
like CMOS battery type thing.
Yeah, if it goes bad, it's like a fucking old Pokemon game. It loses all connectivity to the servers online. Your fucking PS4 is bricked if you're not connected to the internet.
Weird.
Yeah. So like there's some weird stuff going on right now with long-term like viability of some of these games, like some of these consoles, like preserving them. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Or we're just going to get really fucking good emulators and keep records of your, you've purchased a game and then, it's legal to emulate it.
Well, that's kind of like what happens is like as soon as something like that happens, like they make it really, really hard or really, really difficult for people to get the games legally.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. People, then it's like it becomes less of a problem for people to have any sort of moral objection against emulation. It kind of gives people, it's like, well, now that I can't actually get these games, I'm just going to download them and play them anyways.
Well, I was looking for like I was like, you know what? I want to play the 3DS remasters of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask because they look they look pretty good subjectively. They look really nice.
Yeah.
Well, Nintendo has ceased all production of any replacement parts for 2DS and 3DS.
Really?
So there's no replacement parts, and now the price of fucking 3DSs is through the roof. I mean, it's like, when does it end, man?
That keeps happening. It's like I've had so many 3DSs. I've probably had like 5 or 6 of them, like all the different models. Every time they came out with a new one, I bought it. And same with Vita. I've had quite a few Vitas, and now Vitas are super expensive too. It's like I keep on like just getting rid of these things. I'd have like so much money worth of consoles because I've had like everything multiple times.
Yeah, like everything is going like they discontinue it, and people are like, "There's good games on that system that I would like to have access to play." And it's like, at what point does it become a means to an end where everybody's just emulating everything?
But like Nintendo, it's come up with a virtual console store for the Switch. You could even have 3DS games on there, and have like the TV as one screen and the Switch as the other screen. Like
I feel like it'd be so simple. But Nintendo being Nintendo, they're for as great as they are, they can be very tone deaf.
Like not only that, you could just come up with a different little dock so you could still have your Switch handheld, have an official Nintendo dock where you plug it into your TV while you're still holding it for 3DS emulation. They could charge like, $50 for the 3DS cable or whatever so that you could play 3DS games on your TV.
And like the thing is, like most of those games didn't really need. I feel like most of those games didn't need the touchscreen. They put a couple things in there that were gimmicky. They could patch that out real quick and then give us the games.
Or they could just, like I said, do it that way and then sell more hardware to people that'll pay anything to Nintendo to play old games.
Like me.
And like the fact that they don't have a virtual console on the Switch is like insane.
But yet it's on the Wii U. I don't understand. I wonder, I wonder sometimes. I really do. But I love the games. I love the IPs, man. I love Nintendo. I fucking love everything about it except for how they are as a company. because they are so tone deaf and really hard to work with, from everything I understand.
Like, I'm definitely gonna buy Mario Golf the day it comes out.
I'm ready for Pokemon Snap, boy. I'm fucking getting Pokemon Snap the day it comes out. My fucking Twitter feed is gonna be full of like, look at me taking this picture of a Bulbasaur eating a plant or like eating whatever Bulbasaurs eat. Like, I'm
Isn't that
fucking
coming
ready.
out like next week?
Yes.
Damn.
Fucking can't wait. I'm gonna be walking. I got my Switch. I'm gonna be Pokemon snapping it up, baby. We're gonna take all the pictures. Call me I was gonna say call me Pablo Picasso, but he was a fucking painter. I'm just gonna be what, Ansel Adams? Yeah, call me Ansel Adams. I'm gonna be taking all the pictures, man. I can't wait. So I'm looking forward to that next week. Yeah, I don't know. Let's talk about the games we've been playing, because I've had a lot of time off. I told you guys at the start of the podcast, I've had all this time off. I have played the fuck out of some video games. Let me tell you. And
What,
yeah,
what,
I'll let you
what
go
was your?
first. I know you played Outriders. Tell me,
Well,
because we
I
talked
did.
about your early impressions. Did you
Yeah.
end up liking the game?
Yes, I like it quite a bit.
Okay.
It's um, it's like just a fun. It's fun with your friends. It's just fun shooting times. There's nothing remarkable about the game whatsoever, other than it's really really fun to play.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. Every game doesn't have to be like this groundbreaking new thing. So it's just like a really good, like a good fun.
Yeah. Um, like the story wasn't good really. It was just fun to play. Like it didn't get repetitive, even though it should have, because there's only so many enemies. I don't know. It's just because you're constantly modding your guns and getting new abilities and stuff that it feels like even if the enemies aren't necessarily that different, how you're fighting is always a little bit different depending on what you're finding. So
It's not bad.
I feel
How
like
long?
it.
How long was the game? Because I've heard it's like what, 30 hours?
I feel like it was around 40 to beat it. I
40.
beat it. I was level 30, which is max level, and then world tier 13, which is two from the max. And then I got up to 15 just to get like my free legendary or whatever for doing that, and then I went into the end game.
Ooh. What is the end game like? Yeah, give me a breakdown of the end game. I'm curious. Because I played a lot of like looter shooters. So I'm always curious as to how they handle the end game.
Okay, so like the way they like, there's the world tier system, which allows you to be over leveled or to fight
Okay.
things over your level and then get over level equipment. So I think like once you're up to 15, I think you could be like like plus 12. So like that'd be like you're fighting level 42 enemies, and you could
Okay.
have level 42 gear.
Okay. So the gear levels too, just not you.
Yes, and
Okay.
then at the for the expansions, the uh, it's called expeditions, and there's like its own expedition level, and that will allow you to get up to level 50 gear, because you have to like, it basically ignores world tiers from that point. You go on these little expeditions, you get to choose from like three or four when you go into the little menu. Some of them are like level caps, so you have to keep on going up expedition level. I think we're on like 10 right now or whatever. And you're fighting harder enemies obviously, and you just get better loot from those expeditions, and it gives you like a
Mhm.
higher percentage. It'll be like, oh, you have 5% chance of getting a legendary if you beat this. If you're on level like 10, if you're on 9, you got like a 2.5% chance.
Okay. I
So
mean,
what they
it sounds kind of like Diablo 3, how there's like rifts and greater rifts and all that and
yeah,
challenges and just kind of ways to push it harder.
yeah, it's kind of just like a boss. There's like usually like two or three bosses, and like there's one boss at the end, and it's just like arenas. You're just going into arenas and killing a bunch of shit, and it's like pretty tough sometimes, like the higher you get. But it's just like almost like a boss rush mode or like a raid type thing. And I haven't, like, once you get to like level 15, I think it is, for you can go into like whatever the singularity or something. There's like an actual end to the expeditions, but I haven't gotten there yet because it's getting pretty rough.
Getting pretty rough. I'm still curious in Outriders. I might look into it. I think, like I said, once it goes on sale, because I had planned on just kind of getting it on Game Pass, and then they did the old bait and switch with it being console only. So if it ever comes to Game Pass on PC, obviously I'll try it. or if it goes on a good sale, then I'd be open to trying it too. Whichever one.
Yeah, the focus is definitely just the fun gunplay and the like watching the numbers go up, like leveling up, getting better guns, getting like working on your skills, making them work together to get like a really cool build, and that's like all
Yeah.
the game is.
Just it's about grinding. I mean, which that kind of grind. I like that kind of grinding. Just grinding near the end game. Is there a leaderboard for that or?
Not that I know of.
Okay. The leaderboard always made it fun for me on Diablo 3. Just grinding the leaderboard. How like just how far level could you push it? That's what I always liked. Me myself, I've been playing I just finished the base game and the first DLC of Spider-Man 2018. They remastered it for the PS5, so it like looks insane. It is one of the craziest looking games I've ever played. But also like one of the best games I've played in a long time. I'm a huge MCU fan, and this just ticks all the boxes. I mean, there's a after credits extended like hidden scene for the next game. I mean, the storyline was really good. The villains were good. The web swinging, the combat, everything was really fun. And I mean, like, I'm not upset that I missed out on it in 2018, but like, goddamn, that was a game. And for them to go back and remaster it on PS5, I mean, I can't wait to go play Miles Morales. I have 2 more small DLCs to do, and then I'll be going on to the new one. But
Okay.
it came out really good.
I was gonna ask if you played Miles Morales because I've looked at like screenshots for that game and it looks amazing. Like just the ray tracing is really good in that game for a console. It's like amazing
Mhm.
looking.
Yeah, the graphics for the remastered of the original it looks the same. Like they're like the same engine where they did the same up touches and all that. They completely redesigned Peter, and I think they redid Mary Jane's face as well. And then
Oh
like
yeah.
Black Cat looked really good. I mean, it was just it was a good fun game. It was actually pretty difficult, surprisingly enough. I thought it was going to be like an easy just like go through experience, but I died and had to redo stuff quite a few times. So I mean, challenge is always something I welcome as being like a little bit of a glutton for punishment and a Souls player. So I highly recommend anybody out there that can get lucky enough to get a PS5. Like the first thing I recommend is just get Spider-Man and just play it. Even if you play it again, play it remastered. You know, everyone that was watching, I streamed it for a little bit from the PS5, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it looks completely different and better than it did on PS4 or PS4 Pro."
I remember like Spider-Man 2 back in the day. That game was so awesome.
Everybody loves that game, man. People were coming into my chat and they're like, "This uses the same web mechanics as Spider-Man 2. That's why it's so good." And I was like, "Okay."
Spider-Man 2 was really good. It was awesome.
The combat is just like, have you ever played Batman Arkham?
Yeah.
It's that combat. I really feel like it's the exact same combat.
It's basically how like the older Assassin's Creeds were too. It's like you get a
Mhm.
little like prompt and then you could like counter and
Yeah.
shit like that.
It's like,
Hit
oh, there's an
triangle.
exclamation point. His Spidey sense is tingling. I'm like, oh, okay, then press dodge, and he would dodge. I mean, it's fucking good though. It fucking works. It has so much good dialogue and story and the movement. It just chef's kiss, man. Fucking 10 out of 10. I got like to a certain point in the story, and I sat down on a Saturday, and I spent like 7 hours just grinding through the end of it. I just had to finish it, and I'd do it again. Honestly, it was that good. I'd do it again. I mean, there's so much content. There's like all the cosmetics and stuff are like challenge based in the game. I'm like, this is so refreshing to not have to be pushed to a store to buy the stuff.
Yeah. So it's
So
probably a lot like it's like a Spider-Man version of the Arkham games
it
in a
is.
way.
It is.
Yeah.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
No. Like
Just it's got better movement. I never thought the movement was great in Arkham. You know, you're just running, or you could use your back glider. Swinging on webs, way fucking better.
yeah.
So, but you got anything else for me, man? I think that's probably a good spot to end it off. We talked about what we played. What are you playing this week? What are you kind of grinding on going forward?
Oof. I have no idea. I've been playing Tab G a little bit here and there. Have you played that game yet?
I have you guys played and it looks fucking absurd. It looks fucking absurd. Really does.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's frustrating for me coming from a game like Apex, which is so clearly like smoothly built, to like
Yeah.
that game where it's like, oh, I have to pick up the sight now. I have to move it slowly onto my gun and like do all this weird shit and like stuff like that. It's just so annoying. And expending like going through your inventory in like a really not very well organized way compared to like
Janky mess.
yeah.
But the best kind of like the kind of train wreck you can't pull yourself away from looking at.
But yeah, it's funny and it's like so stupid. Like the characters are so dumb looking and like it is fun, but it's like frustrating from a mechanical like point of view for me. But
Mm-hmm.
it is really fun.
I'm doing Subnautica. I think I kind of told you that. I started Subnautica like a couple days ago. I'm probably about like 8 or 9 hours into it. Pretty enjoyable so far. Kind of terrifying. You know, I'm not like the type that is afraid of deep water, but there's some fucking creatures, man, in that game that'll literally eat you, that are huge and they chase you, and you know, like the exploration is cool, and I don't know. I'll probably have a pretty good, a better verdict for it, yeah. But that's what I'm working on this week, and then we'll probably start doing this every 2 weeks, just kind of talking about what we're doing and kind of where we're at, depending on how the podcast goes. So I'll be back to report on that, and you'll have to let me know how you're playing, if you're still playing Tab G or if you've moved on to, you know, some of the Bethesda stuff you've been wanting to catch up on.
Yeah, we will see.
All right, guys. Well, that's the podcast for this week. Make sure to look down below, give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up, maybe put the bell on, and we'll have our social medias linked as well. Obviously, you can catch Mr. Foxhard here, like I don't know, almost every day of the week on Apex or something that he'll be streaming, and you can kind of catch me. I don't know what my stream schedule is going to be going forward, but I'm usually live in the evenings and on the weekends. So we both stream on Twitch. I have a Discord. We'll put the link to the Discord there, and you know, come join the conversation. Thanks, guys, and have a great week.
Bye.